Hello, and welcome to the second video in a two-part series about Fasten Monk Treb. In this one, we're going to be covering a much stronger version of Fasten Monk Treb, something I never thought I would ever have to bring out of the old catacombs. 28 plus 2 plus Wheelbarrow and 2 villagers, or even 4 or 5 villagers in Castellation. So this is expanding upon the last video. You're going to hit Imp much earlier than before. You're going to have a little bit less eco, but if you have civs with good eco bonuses, then that's not such a problem. So civilizations we'd look at for this are, for example, Italians right in front of us. Burmese can also be quite good. They have good eco bonus, not great, but it's quite good. Byzantines for sure. Japanese, and possibly Teutons and Saracens, depending on how well you abuse their bonuses. It's also worth to mention Malay. They have their own unique Fasten Monk Treb build. That's something we might go into at some point. But that doesn't make that big of a difference. So we're not going to waste too much time in the introduction. Let's just hop straight into the build and we're going to explain the differences as we go. So we're going to start by queuing up our 4 villagers and building our 2 houses, 2 villas in one on the other. I'm going to assume you've fully checked out the previous guide. Otherwise a lot of this might not make some sense to you. So we're going to do the more basic things. Obviously in Arena you always go outside to find your sheep outside first. You may spawn with sheep outside, you may spawn them with inside, but always check inside because, outside first, because if the enemy comes by and scouts them, he'll steal them. So we found our sheep quite early, and we're going to use our sheep to sheep scout. Just do circles around the black areas really, and you shouldn't have any problems. It'll help you find your inside resources very quickly. So this is where the enemy is. Our enemy is relatively close, meaning this would be a good strategy. 6 on sheep, 4 on wood. This is the same map as previously, so hopefully I remember where the wood lines are. Always make sure you've got 1 sheep under a TC that's alive, so you can take it instantly. So this builder differentiates in a couple of ways. We're skipping a couple of villagers in a certain couple of places. As Italians we save both food and gold. This means we can get away with a little bit less farms. Don't need to abuse the market, so we don't need other resources to sell to get it, for example. And a couple of other things going on with that. So after 6 sheep 4 wood, we do our typical go and get the boar with the next villager. Of course, if you're just taking the sheep and the villager's not ready to come out yet, send a villager from under your TC instead. And that way your boar will come in at the time this finishes. For example, we waited for the next villager to create, and the villagers under TC would have been idle for quite a long time. Next villager will go and build a house, and then go to berries. Again, just with before, this is one of the messier parts of a builder, where it depends on the food under your TC at any given time, because you can push a deer and you want more villagers under your TC to take that instead of going to berries as early. I tend to like to have 8 villagers under my TC, and only 2 dead animals at once, so I'm going to take this deer now. And we're just going to work our way towards 4 villagers on the berries. As you see, mostly just scouting with our sheep, we've got a very clear view of inside arena. I'm not going to push that now, we don't need to. 16-17 pop, this is when I tend to build the next set of houses. With fast imp, I tend to do 3. At around 100 food, even with just 4 villagers on it, we want to consider getting the next board. Because obviously these villagers are not going to be taking that deer forever. We have our 4 on berries. If we consider this villager here, after she's done the houses, she's going to the berries. We can also push another deer. 4 on berries, so we want to get to 19 pop. That's always the number. This would be repetitive from the last video, but I assure you, when you get it into your head, that's what you need to do. It becomes an absolute doddle. Now we're 19 pop, second lumber cap, and this is where we start to see the first difference in the build. Make sure when she finishes building the houses, you send her to the berries again. Use shift queuing to make 2 villagers go to each side, and make sure your lumber camps are working efficiently. With berries, if you don't do this, then you'll end up with 3 or 4 villagers on one side of the berries, and they will all clash into each other and cause a lot of idle time. This is a good time to add a couple of farms, but we have multiple dead animals under the TC right now, so I'm a little bit more concerned about just pushing the steer under there. Get the lay farms a little bit. So now we have 3 on wood, and this is what we need. Next, we do 3 on stone, similar to before. I strongly advise you scout properly, using your scout to scout around the wall of their base. But right now, I'm against an AI, I don't need to be concerned about that. I'm just going to auto-scout. It makes it a lot easier for me to sit and explain things while playing. I tend to do well when it comes to playing while speaking, though when I'm trying to make a guide and trying to focus, I do lose a bit of concentration sometimes. So I'm going to be doing this. You're okay to think I'm a noob for doing it. So we finished the boar under TC, and we're just going to fit as many villagers as we can around the sheep. Any villagers that can't, we're going to make a farm. And the next 3 villagers go to gold. So 3 stone, 3 gold. 3 wood, 3 stone, 3 gold, instead of 4 wood, 3 stone, which remains the same, and 4 gold. After we get 3 on gold, we click up to Feudal Age. I like to keep 6 on my sheep, so we have 7 here. Just double check everything here is working perfectly fine. Now we have less wood, but you know that we only need to click up to... if we have 7 on wood, we can click up to Feudal Age with 0 wood. We have 7, so we're actually going to have a bit more wood than we're going to need in Feudal Age. So we know we could afford at least 1 extra farm due to that, and also we clicked up with 70 or something wood, which means we could also again afford another farm. So we can easily afford 2 farms, and possibly even a 3rd one, before hitting Feudal Age. That's a really important thing to notice. Just knowing when you click up how much wood you have and your wood income, if you're going to have 325 wood for your market blacksmith. Because if you know you can have more than that, then you know you could add farms early on where they're more effective. Always on the last sheep, that's when I add my farms. Separate him out a bit, those can get quite collided. After we're done with this, we send them straight to the straggler. We need to send 1 to gold. And we need to send 1 to wood. The rest of these we'll add farms as and when we can afford. Let's build a market and blacksmith with 2 villagers. These 2 villagers, both will go to stone. You also want to get double bed axe as soon as possible. Let's cancel that farm so we can get it right away. And let's click up to Castle Age when these 2 are built and those 2 villagers are made. So this is something that could also be a little bit subjective. If you want to build your castle, for example, here, then the villagers are already very close to it. We could have 4 on stone and we'll have just about enough stone as soon as we hit Castle Age. But if we're building it somewhere far, for example, where stone was back here and we wanted to build it forward, that's when I would keep 5 because you need to move your villagers first. Oops. Let's get horse collar first. Let's add farms to these villagers now that we can afford to. So something we could also do is we can collect 100 extra stone. If we're going to build it here, we could put 5 on anyway, and we will very soon have enough extra stone to build the town centre. That could be very useful later in Imp, especially when you want to try adding economy. And these villagers are finishing up on berries. This is entirely up to you. You can add extra villagers to farms. And then you could do, for example, Byzantines, you could do 1 barrack spears, as well as double monastery monks. But we're going to be doing Italians, similar reason to Burmese. It's we could do unique unit at the same time. As you can see, we already hit 100 stone, and we're almost castle age, so if it was back here, this is when we'd send them. I'm just going to be sending these villagers straight to gold as soon as they're done with that. So let's queue up Wheelbarrow and 2 villagers. And just build a castle here. You only need 4 villagers building it, we could build it with 5 if we wanted to. But let's just take one off and put him to gold. The crux of this build is we want to click up with at least 10 on wood, depending what we're going. If we're going 3 monasteries, then 10 on wood is pretty much ideal. If we're going for unique unit, a little bit more than that is a little bit better as well. Iron Buy obviously and Genoese, these wood and gold costing units, they're quite expensive on the wood count, early on anyway, so we want to add more wood for that. Oops. Let's just avoid that dance there. Let's also make sure we turn on automatic farm reseeding. So now we're sending our 2 villagers to wood. And then we're going to have to obviously decide what our plan is going to be. And if we're using the market a little bit, just buying 100 food and selling the rest of the wood, we have absolutely no problem clicking up this early. And this is 50 seconds earlier than we did click up before. So we don't need this many villagers on food. Let's straight away take 2 off and put them to wood. And we've already got our 2 monasteries being ready to be built. 2 monasteries actually does not cost that much to run, so there's no real reason to fret about that. And this is essentially the build. You're going to be up to imp really early, you're going to have a couple of Genoese. 3 Genoese, even without any upgrades, is still really useful at taking out a couple of early scouts. That's especially useful to know in team games, because they have multiple scouts. They're, you know, mostly not going to be upgraded, except the guy you're against who may choose to upgrade to light cav. So, a few Genoese, really, really helpful. So after that's done, it's very, very simple. We can have 5 Genoese with fletching, at the same time as our monks out. And we want to keep our bank going with wood. We need enough to get a Treb when we're up. This might also involve selling a bit of food just to get the extra gold. Especially if we want to keep these TCs running. Sorry, the monasteries. Again, the only upgrade I really get when going up is Sanctity. I tend not to get any other upgrades, they tend to delay you more than not. You could also grab some relics, but this is also something you want to be thinking about. Again, you can also make a couple of petards on the way up. You could only have 2 or 3 Genoese, but if you make a couple of petards, it's going to make your time breaking in so much easier, especially if you're going for Trebs after it. You could easily just blow up the wall. Sure, they might internally wall, but as soon as you get that Treb in there, as soon as you have the monks in there, then you'll have a very easy time. Also, just to quickly demonstrate, hopefully this does not go too badly. That's how quick 5 Genoese kills a scout, and like Cav, they don't do bad against either. But yeah, you start by making a Treb, you can get blood printing, you can get illumination, and you can just start doing the conversions. But enough of this, I don't want to drag this video on too long. Let's have a quick look at the statistics. We have a sub 21 minute just Imperial time with this build. And you start getting Trebs out immediately. You've already got monks. Knights are not really an obstacle. They could be massing knights for quite a long time. This could be even against, for example, humans, of which you would probably go, for example, triple monastery against. And by now you could easily have, you know, 6 to 9 monks, depending on how you're balancing it, just 9 months, the last 3 coming out by now. They can try massing the knights and you could actually do a decent amount of damage to that. Especially if you get redemption against Capram, you only need to convert 1. But yeah, there's very, very many civs and strategies that this works against, and this is in particular extremely strong. I feel a bit uneasy unleashing this build because the normal version, 1 minute later, that's still absolutely devastating. So this, if you're able to execute this quite well, you're going to be doing very, very good with some very, very good imp times and some very, very good aggression. What we want to see is more aggression these days. So, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure you watch part 1 if you didn't understand most of this, but yeah, good luck, and hopefully you enjoyed the build.